Welcome back, everyone. This past July, at least 138 people died during a devastating flash flood in Texas. 28 of those lives were taken at Camp Mystic, the Christian all-girls sleepaway camp located along the Guadalupe River, which rapidly rose overnight while campers were asleep. 8-year-old Abby Lynn Pohl was among those who died that night. Her mother and father, Kristin and Matthew Pohl, are among the multiple families of campers and 2 counselors who are now suing the camp and its owners, alleging gross negligence and reckless disregard for safety. Thank you both so much for being here tonight. I know you're also joined with your attorney, Kyle Finley. We were in Hill Country in the days after the flood and saw the devastation with our own eyes. Our condolences to you both. I know that you just filed this lawsuit today, and it's now one of 5 lawsuits made by other families and counselors, all alleging that camp officials focused on profits over safety. Did the camp provide any information prior to the tragedy about a potential weather risk?
Not at all.
And Kristin and Matthew, after the flood, development of summer camps in that area came under scrutiny, as you know, as that area was known as Flash Flood Alley. What was your reaction to learning this information while at the same time grieving the loss of your daughter?
It was unbelievable. We had no idea that we were sending our children, our 3 daughters, to a camp that was known as Flash Flood Alley. That was never brought to our attention.
We didn't have the pleasure of knowing your daughter, Abby, but you've described her as a young girl who had a joyful spirit and someone who enjoyed morning snuggles with her mom. What else do you want people to know about your daughter?
She was everything we ever wanted in a child. She was perfect in every way and had a special bond with her 2 older sisters, and also her, all of us were just a tight-knit family, and she had a happy spirit. She loved to make people laugh, and without her here, there's just a deep hole in our hearts.
Abby was placed in the Bubble Inn at Camp Mystic, where tragically all the girls and their counselors passed away. What have these past few months been like for you and your family and other families who lost their daughters?
Devastating.
It's
hard to believe.
We are just suffering every day. Feels like the pain just will never end. To outlive a child is not something I would wish upon my worst enemy. And the worst part is just knowing that it could have been prevented.
I know that this was a Christian camp. Just curious, how do you reconcile the loss of a child with your Christian faith?
We're being tested.
I don't think that we would be here if it weren't for our faith.
Kyle, I want to bring you in here. Jeff Ray, who's legal counsel for Camp Mystic, said, we disagree with several accusations and misinformation in the legal filings regarding the actions of Camp Mystic and Dick Eastland, who lost his life as well. We will thoroughly respond to these accusations in due course. What's your response to this statement?
Our response to this statement is simple. The facts are laid out clearly in this petition. This was an event that totally could have been prevented. You had the Texas Department of Emergency Management Services issuing warnings and getting into action on July 2nd. On July 3rd, you have a flood watch warning that comes out. No action taken whatsoever. And then even on July 4th, when the flood warning comes out at 1 o'clock in the morning, still no actions taken. It's not till the wee hours of the morning, even based on the legal representation of Mystic, that for the first time a plan starts to happen when it's already too late. And that's the problem with this case, and the devastation that it caused is this was entirely preventable. There were steps that should have been taken that were never taken. There was no sort of plan put in place, despite the fact that it was known that this flood was coming. And that's the hardest part about this, is you've got instances, the Pohls and others, who had other children there. And to have sisters walk by their little sister's cabin, and with the youngest girls not being evacuated, and wondering to this day why they didn't go in and get their sister. why they weren't allowed to get their sister, and maybe this could have been prevented. And without a doubt, this is something that should never happen. And that's what this lawsuit is for, is to prevent this from ever happening again.
Kristin and Matthew, what do you hope comes from your lawsuit ultimately?
Transparency, accountability, and prevention so that this never happens again.
How are your other daughters coping with Abby's loss?
It's a real struggle. They're not but 20 months apart, all three of them. We're very close. It's incredibly difficult. It's very day to day. We try to make the best of it.
Kristin and Matthew, we thank you so much for sharing memories of Abby and talking to us tonight. Again, we are so immensely sorry for your loss. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.